Do either of you guys have any opening comments?
Yeah, I have a number of questions. First off, it looks like the bill sponsor is Senator Brad Zaun. Did he give you any indication of why he was bringing the bill forward today?
I have not talked to Senator Zaun about the bill.
What type of abortion does this legislation cover?
I think what it does is, I think it would probably cover all types of abortion. There are exceptions in there where if it's medically necessary procedure to save the life of a mother, that the requirements of the bill would apply.
So would spontaneous abortions be covered in this legislation?
And by that term, are you essentially like a miscarriage?
Correct.
I cannot answer that right now, but I can dig into it and work with the drafters and stuff.
That's a pretty significant question. If you're unable to answer whether miscarriages are covered under this, 1 in 4 women will experience a miscarriage in their life. So we need some clarification on that.
And I guess I would say maybe it does need to be clarified. I mean, I didn't want to give the incorrect answer.
But you don't know the answer.
I don't know the answer. I would say my best informed reading of it would say no, a miscarriage would not be captured under the requirements of the bill.
Okay. Now, if a woman is experiencing a spontaneous abortion, how would an ultrasound be done if the woman needs a medical procedure?
So there's a provision in here. It's kind of the point I alluded to before. If it is medically necessary to perform, if the requirements of the bill don't apply, so you would, if in the judgment of the doctor it was medically necessary to save the woman's life or prevent possible detrimental physical effects to the body, then I would say probably the requirements of the ultrasound would not apply.
Well, it says only to, under the way the bill is written, it says to preserve the life of the pregnant woman whose life is endangered. And oftentimes when a woman is experiencing a miscarriage, her actual life is not in danger. So that would not cover her the way you have medical emergency covered. How many spontaneous abortions occurred last year in Iowa?
I don't know. We can research that and help find the answer for you.
Okay. Well, it's in the thousands, and I'm just curious. It's in the thousands alone just for the Medicaid population. So my question to you is how many additional ultrasounds will we be giving to women in our state under this legislation? Everyone that requires some type of procedure would be required to have an ultrasound, correct?
Again, I'm, without having spoken to the sponsor of the bill to understand his intent of it, my judgment would be for purposes of an elective procedure, that this is what the bill would apply to. So it's however many elective procedures there are, that's probably how many ultrasounds.
So do you believe getting your uterus when you're in the middle of a miscarriage would be considered an elective procedure for Iowa women that maybe want assistance while they're going through a miscarriage? That you consider that elective?
So, okay. If there are complications with the pregnancy, an ultrasound can help determine whether or not the pregnancy could continue. So that may be an appropriate medical tool to use. If it is so to the miscarriage is so to the state that of seriousness that it endangers the life of the mother. Again, I don't think the requirements of the bill would apply to that on notice and informed consent and all these other prerequisites.
Well, you have a 72-hour waiting period in the legislation. You can't confirm that this doesn't apply to women who are going through a miscarriage. And for them to have to fill out a permission slip and wait 72 hours before that they can get medical assistance is simply inhumane. You also have on lines 13 and 14 information about fetal demise, and that a tech would be required to tell a parent that there was fetal demise. What is the current procedure for a parent who gets an ultrasound where they detect fetal demise?
What's the current procedure?
Yes.
It is a subcommittee. We're looking for language. I mean, so if there's some language you think that could help clarify all this, we'd certainly be open to it.
Well, I'm asking you. You guys are the ones running the bill. I just
Sure.
am curious what you mean by fetal demise. Are we now letting techs do the work of other healthcare providers? I mean, you're telling a tech that they now have to inform a parent of fetal demise. Is that your intent?
I mean, I think techs that go through the education and training are prepared to determine all types of situations.
Really?
They could, yes. I mean, a tech is if their education, training, and experience allows them to detect someone. I mean, not related to a pregnancy, a broken arm or something like that. If their training goes to them, if they are the one that's performing this and detecting it, I don't know if hospitals have best procedures. If they would say in a case where we're talking life and death, do you bring in a doctor, for example, to review this?
What kind of ultrasounds are you mandating in this legislation?
The bill requires the performance of an obstetric ultrasound, and I believe the bill defines that later on page 4 to mean the use of ultrasonic waves for the diagnostic or therapeutic purposes, specifically to monitor the development of an unborn child. So probably any of those technologies that the medical profession would deem appropriate based on the circumstances.
So what type of ultrasound would you use in the first few weeks of pregnancy under this legislation?
I think that medical professionals could determine the appropriate.
But you're dictating what they have to tell their patient and that they have to do an ultrasound. What kind of ultrasound do they have to do in order to meet the requirements under this bill?
Any type of ultrasound that meets the definition of ultrasound in the bill. So any use of
So
ultrasonic
Senator
waves.
Zaun, Mr. I don't believe in traffic cameras is now going to dictate that government require vaginal ultrasounds.
There are transvaginal ultrasounds. There's also ultrasounds, outside the body.
And do those work early in pregnancy?
We had ultrasounds at early stages of life on my wife's stomach.
Or what week?
Somewhere between 6, 8, 10 maybe.
And were they able to do all of the requirements in this legislation?
I don't know if they were. Our kids were born in different states, and we weren't pursuing an abortion.
I guess then my question is, are you saying that you are not going to require transvaginal ultrasounds for Iowa women under this bill? Because if that is the case, you probably should put that in an amendment. Are you wanting to dictate transvaginal ultrasounds?
What I want to do is allow doctors, as they help people determine how to give informed consent for a medical procedure, use their judgment to determine
Well,
what
you
type
don't want to
of...
use their judgment because you just outlined exactly what they should say and do. So basically, if you want them to follow your requirements, you are going to mandate them using transvaginal ultrasounds. You're going to mandate a transvaginal ultrasound for Iowa women and girls. Am I correct?
No, not mandating a transvaginal ultrasound. If another type of ultrasound technology is available and the doctor determines that's appropriate,
Well, that wouldn't work early in pregnancy. Not for what you're calling for. Do you want to put an amendment in that says they absolutely are not required to use that form of ultrasound?
I would be, Senator Peterson, any amendment language that you have and that you would bring forward.
This is not my legislation. I would throw this in a garbage can. That's what I would do with it.
I'm not going to throw it in the garbage can. We've had